Jesse Singal, The Quick Fix: Why Fad Psychology Can't Cure Our Social Ills. Embark on a compelling exploration of psychology and the dangers of fad theories in The Quick Fix: Why Fad Psychology Can't Cure Our Social Ills by Jesse Singal. This summary highlights how the urgency in society to embrace simple solutions leads to the propagation of flawed theories and far-reaching consequences. It tackles popular psychology concepts, such as the superpredator, power poses, and grit, and delves into a discussion of the potential dangers these simplified ideas pose. Learn to navigate the complex world of human behavior and understand the importance of seeking comprehensive explanations, rather than falling for enticing, yet limited quick fixes.
The danger of flawed psychological theories. The idea of superpredators, invented by John DiIulio, was popular and influential in the 90s due to the rise in youth crime. He believed there was a criminal class of people who impulsively committed senseless acts of violence due to growing up in abusive environments. However, this concept was never clearly defined, and other experts did little to debunk it. The theory of the superpredator has since been disproven, and instead, youth violence was linked to easy access to guns, which was connected to crack dealing. This flawed psychological concept resulted in many states changing their laws, allowing juveniles to be tried and sentenced as adults, which often had tragic consequences. Furthermore, DiIulio's idea unintentionally reinforced negative racial stereotypes, creating a disconnect between public perceptions of crime and reality and deepening racial divides. This extreme example shows the danger of flawed psychological theories promoted by experts. Power poses and deceptive data in psychology. Harvard psychologist Amy Cuddy's 2012 TED Talk on power poses, which claimed that changing one's body language could change how they feel, gained worldwide popularity. However, when other scientists tried to reproduce the findings, they failed. The study's co-author Dana Carney later revealed that the statistics the study relied on were manipulated to generate desirable results, a practice known as p-hacking. This study reveals the issues of data manipulation in psychological science and calls for reform in research practices. The power pose concept's popularity may be attributed to its links to the self-help trend and its feminist appeal in academic and career settings. However, it is a quick fix, which is a recurring theme in psychology. Positive psychology in PTSD treatment. The U.S. Army developed the Comprehensive Soldier Fitness Program, CSF, to combat the mental health crisis of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, among its soldiers. The program, rooted in positive psychology, aimed to provide soldiers with optimism and resilience. However, studies have shown that the CSF has limited effectiveness for treating PTSD compared to other techniques. Skeptics have argued that the Army favored the CSF for its alignment with the Army's philosophy of encouraging individuals to work on themselves through a positive attitude. While positive psychology has its place, it is essential to use it carefully, especially when treating vulnerable people on a massive scale, as PTSD sufferers might miss out on more effective treatments. Positive psychology is an example of a simplistic solution for a complex issue, but life just isn't that simple. The myth of grit. Successful outcomes are not solely reliant on an individual's grit, as it is just one of many factors that contribute to success. The overemphasis on personal characteristics can detract from addressing larger societal issues. In her TED Talk and book, Grit: The Passion of Power and Perseverance, award-winning psychologist Angela Duckworth posits that grit is the key to success. Duckworth's research suggests that grit, measured on a scale, can be an indicator of academic performance. Furthermore, Duckworth believes that grit is a quality that can be developed. However, subsequent research has revealed limitations to Duckworth's theory. It is important to remember that success is not solely reliant on one's individual characteristics and behavior. Factors such as nutrition, family stability, and external support play crucial roles in shaping a child's character and their prospects for success. While grit may be valuable in setting and achieving goals, it is not the main predictor of success. Duckworth's own example of Cody, a disadvantaged teen who succeeded with the help of a supportive adult, highlights the importance of external factors. The overemphasis on personal characteristics can detract from addressing larger societal issues. It is unfair to solely attribute success or failure to an individual's grit when external factors may largely decide outcomes. Instead of praising or blaming individuals, society should focus on creating opportunities that level the playing field for all individuals. The illusion of implicit bias. The emphasis on examining implicit bias has led to a neglect of more significant societal issues. While the implicit association test, IAT, has been widely popularized and attracts individuals' emotional investment in recognizing their biases, its efficacy in predicting real-world behavior is limited. Structural factors, such as the racial wealth gap, have a greater impact on the persistence of racial inequality. Psychology's tendency to seek quick fixes often results in the neglect of crucial problems. The importance of replication in psychology. Psychologists should prioritize replication when testing the validity of studies, rather than using flawed practices such as hidden flexibility or harking. Though replication can be challenging, it is a crucial tool for ensuring the credibility of research. Pre-registration and other efforts are being made to improve research practices, but there is still much work to be done. If you want to have a successful career in psychology, getting published and reporting statistically significant findings are crucial. One way psychologists can ensure significant findings is through replication. However, many psychologists resort to flawed practices like hidden flexibility or harking, which can compromise the credibility of their research. Hidden flexibility involves analyzing complex data at random through endless trials until something seemingly significant is found, which is then made the focus of research. Harking, on the other hand, involves covering up an original theory and the fact that it failed by hypothesizing after known results. Replication involves repeating experiments with different participants to validate the initial findings. This practice is important when testing someone else's findings or proving the validity of one's research to avoid compromised credibility. One popular concept in psychology, social priming, involves exposure to concepts or stimuli that can influence behavior. But attempts to replicate priming through various studies in recent years have failed, including the popular theory of exposure to words associated with old age influencing slow walking. Other efforts to improve research practices include pre-registration, where researchers publicly share their hypotheses before starting work, preventing the manipulation of data. Despite these efforts, there is still much work to be done to improve credibility in research practices. According to expert psychologist Brian Nosek, the last decade has seen a credibility revolution. Nudging, a useful tool, but not a panacea. Nudging is a behavioral science concept that aims to influence people's behavior through subtle changes in the way choices are presented. It has attracted a lot of media attention, and many studies have shown its effectiveness. However, the concept's limitations should also be recognized, and it should be viewed as a tool rather than an ideology. Nudging can't replace systemic changes and policies, and it's essential to avoid neglecting more significant underlying issues. Psychology in crisis. In early 2020, a group of psychologists led by Hans I. German published a paper admitting the limitations of their field, stating that psychologists should avoid offering insights during turbulent times like the COVID-19 pandemic. Society needs to stop searching for quick fixes to complex human problems like racism or inequality. Psychology can change people's understanding of the world, but if people think there's a simple solution, they might start blaming the vulnerable. Despite the allure of a simple story, human behavior is complex and requires equally complex solutions. It's time to encourage reform in psychology and admit the flaws of the field.
In conclusion, the quick fix serves as an essential reminder to question our understanding and application of simplified psychological concepts, urging us to acknowledge the complexity of human behavior. Through various examples such as the super predator, power poses, and the concept of grit, This summary demonstrates how quick fixes often fail to stand up to scientific scrutiny or generate meaningful change. By reflecting on the book's insights, readers are encouraged to be more circumspect about embracing enticing psychological theories, and focus on the value of understanding the complexities of our society and behavior.